It has been quite some time, but today we're checking out a mod made by the Commonwealth Weaponry team. And for those who aren't familiar somehow, the Commonwealth Weaponry team is going to be mods made by myself and Pig, and now a new addition to the team, Alexerator. So we have a 3-person job that is going to make a brand new weapon for Fallout 4, and in this case, it's one of the coolest pistols that has ever existed, the Beretta 93R. For those who aren't familiar, this is a 3-round burst pistol that looks extraordinarily cool. Imagine taking the M9, making it even cooler, adding a grip to the front and making it in 3-round bursts, and it usually comes with a foldable stock. A super funky pistol that's been featured in many video games, many movies, and has even been adapted to some interesting sci-fi designs like the RoboCop Auto 9, which is also going to be included in this mod. So that's right, there's a lot to unpack here. We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about with the mod itself, but also some of the stuff going around the mod, including, again, the newest addition to this team. It's been a while since you've seen a release from us, and the truth of that is, one, you gotta take a little break so you don't get too burnt out, but also, there's a mod that we've been working on for quite some time that is still under development, and it's going to take quite a while to get out. So I was kind of waiting on that, and we're still not really seeing the outcome of that yet. So we decided to move on to other things, and that became a little bit easier by adding somebody else to the team. It takes the workload off of each of us just a little bit, but also allows us to focus on every single piece that we're doing a little bit more. Every asset that I created, I spent far more time than I would have on that exact asset. I would have spent more time working on the other stuff. Since now we have an additional artist, not only are the models made by myself, but they're made by Alex as well. Now we can split up the workload and we can focus each on our own parts to make them even better than they would be if we had just done it on our own. And then we also have Pig doing all of the CK work so he can do some really fun and unique stuff, which is definitely very much present in this mod. Having Alex on the team has not only been a huge help, but it's also been super fun to work with him. I know he's fantastic at making models, and finally being able to work together and kind of use our brains at the same time has been really awesome. We have some really cool stuff to show off because of that, starting off with this pistol here. A really iconic pistol that if you're not familiar with, you're going to fall in love with it very soon, I promise, because this thing is a ton of fun. And all of the really cool things that make this thing unique are present in our mod, especially the unique available in this mod as well is very, very cool. You're practically getting 2 weapons for 1. Now, a little bit about the mod and how the gun's going to function in-game before we start checking out the finer details. Again, this is going to be a burst pistol. It is actually called the burst pistol in-game, as we like to do those Fallout-style generic names. It is going to be used in 9mm, which means this does require munitions, of course. I wouldn't have it any other way. This thing does need to be in 9mm, because that's just kind of why it's called the 93R. It's going to have over 45 new attachments, all of which are super cool, really fun, and there's some even pretty unique ones that are exclusive to this mod, and there's some more fun stuff we're trying to build on with not only this mod, but future mods. We want to add some more fun and interesting things that you can do that aren't really available in other mods. This is going to have custom animations as well as custom sounds, beautiful models and textures thanks to the wonderful artists on this team, as well as leveled injection, and again, a very, very fun unique that makes this weapon shine so much more than it already did as an amazing pistol. When it comes to the custom animations, there are a handful of animations depending on how you want to hold this weapon, and even how you want to fire this weapon, whether it's 3-round burst or some of the other options available with the unique. Additionally, there are different ways to grip the weapon because there is a front grip attached, or you can choose to not have that whatsoever, and those are going to be represented as well. In terms of leveled lists, if you want to get your hands on the base version of the 93R, it is found on the Brotherhood of Steel, specifically agents who are not going to be in power armor, the Triggermen, and Gunners, and that will all happen after level 15. On top of that, you can also purchase it from weapon vendors. In terms of the unique, the location will be revealed a little bit later in the video. We'll have a spoiler mark section when we go over the unique on its own. Speaking of which, it's about time that we start thinking about that. So let's go ahead and hop in game, check out the stats of this weapon, talk about the unique animations, attachments, all of the fun stuff available in this mod. Of course, though, we're going to be starting off with the burst pistol in its stats menu. This thing is going to have a base damage of about, I don't think 36 is correct. I believe it's about 18 or so, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, I have perks on this character, so that does fudge the numbers here just a little bit. It is going to be chambered in 9mm, has a fire rate of 18, though that is a little bit hard to actually talk about because this is a burst pistol, so the time between each shot in the burst is actually rapid, super rapid, very fast. The time between each burst is what's being reflected here with the fire rate, so that's kind of something to keep in mind. And this fire rate will go up with each upgrade of the receiver, so it goes from a pretty slow burst to a pretty fast one. That'll be showcased pretty decently in the animation section. For the range, we have 179, an accuracy of 66, a weight of 2.9 pounds in this configuration here, and a value of 60 caps. And of course, all of these stats can be modified thanks to the plethora of attachments we have available over at the weapons workbench. Now, of course, we need to talk about the unique available in this mod, which is going to be the Auto 9. And this is a unique for sure, but it's less of a legendary item and more of a different weapon available as a one-of-a-kind drop. Now, for those of you who do not want spoilers, I would say tune out now until you see the little preview change to the animation section. But we're going to go ahead and talk about what this thing actually does and how you get it. So the Auto 9 is, of course, going to be a reference to the same name weapon from RoboCop. This is going to be RoboCop's iconic pistol. It comes with its own unique muzzle flash, its own unique parts, and its own unique set of attachments that are completely different from the ones available to the burst pistol. It truly is just a different weapon that looks pretty similar. On top of looking super cool, just like the Auto 9, it also has improved VATS hit chance and a 25% less action point cost, so it's great in VATS. And it also has the ability to be put into full auto instead of 3-round bursts, so that's really fun as well. And if you want to get your hands on this thing, you're going to need to take a little trip over to the Malden Police Station. When you get there, you'll find this weapon as well as a nice little note that tells you some details about how this thing fits in universe. A nice little piece that's just there for those of you who want this to feel a little bit more at home in Fallout, since it is clearly coming from a different franchise. Now then, let's talk animations, because they're one of my favorite parts of this mod. We've got some really nice animations thanks to War Daddy and the Combined Arms pack. So, we have some really cool grip animations here that are going to allow you to hold this weapon with 2 hands. Not super normal for a pistol, especially when the front hand is going to be holding onto a grip. And of course, like I said, this thing is in 3-round bursts. Now, in the stock configuration, the fire rate's going to be a little bit slow between each burst. It's not too terribly unbearable, but it can get a lot better. Showing off one of the other animations available is using this thing without the front grip. As you can see, we have a laser there instead. And this one has a fully upgraded receiver, which means we get to fire this thing a whole lot faster. Oop, I blew through my ammo really quick there. Works exactly like you'd imagine. With this suppressor, it's a little hard to aim, but you can fix that very easily with some of the scope options available over at the weapons workbench. But there's, of course, also the Auto 9, which has its own animation set, allowing for full auto fire instead of the 3-round bursts, which in this case is tied to the animations as opposed to scripting. I can show off what that means here in a second as well, but first, let's check this thing out. Custom sounds, custom muzzle flash, as well as the full auto fire makes this thing super cool. Now, typically, whenever you're playing with scripted bursts, if you just click the button really fast, you'll only actually fire 1 or 2 bullets. But because this is tied to animations, 1 simple click equals 3-round bursts, just like it would be in any other AAA title. So that is really cool. Now then, in terms of attachments over at the weapons workbench, we're going to be going through not only the burst pistol, but the Auto 9 unique as well, because they do have completely different options. For the burst pistol, we have receivers standard all the way up through advanced, exactly what you would expect for a weapon like this. For barrels, though, we have the standard barrel, a light barrel, which has some fluting there that looks really cool, a ported barrel, which has holes cut out, and then long versions of each of these barrels that do extend out the front, so that's pretty nice as well. For grips, we have the standard wood grip there, which has some really nice checkering as well as an embossed logo. It looks super cool. We also have the comfort grip, which comes with a black sort of plastic with some nice lines marked into it as well. We have the sharpshooter's grip, which is going to have a bit more of a rubbery texture, as well as some stippling for better grip. And then we also have the folding stock, which is iconic to the 9.3R. A really fun little addition here that you can throw on with some other parts to make sort of a carbine or a sniper rifle, even though it's going to be more of a burst pistol underneath. For magazines, we have the standard magazine, a quick eject version, an extended magazine with a quick eject version, and then a large magazine with a quick eject version of that as well. For sights, we have the standard iron sights, some glow sights, which are going to be a nice shade of green. We have the micro dot, the hollow, or the micro hollow, and then the micro reflex. And then we also have bigger scopes available on a mounted rail, where we have the full-size hollow and the full-size reflex sight, as well as a short scope and a medium scope. Something you don't super need on a burst pistol, but honestly, I've played with it, and it's pretty fun in this sort of configuration, especially with a stock and a long barrel. You can do some fun stuff with this guy. For muzzles, we have the option for no muzzle, a makeshift bayonet, which is going to be a bent piece of metal as well as a big nut on the end of this thing, so that's pretty fun. We have a makeshift compensator made out of a handful of nuts welded together, a makeshift muzzle brake, a makeshift suppressor, a flash hider, a spiked flash hider, a compensator, a muzzle brake, which is going to be sort of the iconic barrel extension from the 9.3R, and a regular old suppressor, which looks quite nice on this thing. I'm a big fan of how this one came out. And then finally, we have the accessory set, where we have the option for no accessory, which is just going to leave this thing in sort of the standard configuration, the folded up version of the grip, the unfolded version of the grip, a flashlight, a laser, and a VATS targeting module if you want a nice little boost to using this thing in VATS, if that's the kind of player you are. Otherwise, I'd recommend one of these up here for some sort of attribute that's going to be a little bit more beneficial to your gameplay. The laser giving you better hipfire accuracy, the flashlight is going to be a little bit more of a functional attachment, literally giving you a flashlight, and the foregrip, of course, giving you way better recoil control. That one might be the best for this, but depending on what other attachments you throw on, maybe you have some better options in mind. Now then, let's talk about the Auto 9 as well, as it has its own set of attachments. For the receiver section, we have the burst, as well as a hardened burst, and then we have full auto and hardened full auto, so that's pretty interesting. We have additions for ammo. We have standard ammo. We have non-lethal ammo, which is going to stagger enemies on hit and do way less damage. We have high velocity ammo for increased range, armor piercing ammo, which is going to penetrate through armor, explosive ammo if you want something a little bit more like the movies, and then seeker ammo, which is going to change the projectile into something that will actually lock onto targets and make it so you don't really have to aim. You'll see that in some combat footage in the video. You'll also know that it kind of is annoying if enemies are behind cover, because these bullets are not going to aim for the head. They're instead going to aim right for the center of mass, which is usually behind a wall. But depending on the scenario, this thing actually is pretty useful. Just depends on what your cup of tea is for this weapon. We have options for two grips, a standard grip and a recoil dampening grip. They're not going to change the model here, as we still want it to look like the RoboCop Auto 9, but they are going to have some different stats. For magazines, we have standard, quick eject, large quick eject, and then the cybernetic auto loader, which apparently is something from the RoboCop video game that gives this thing unlimited ammo capacity, which sounds a little OP to me, but it is going to require a ton of parts, as well as ranked out 4 science and 4 gunsmith, maxed out completely, so that you are going to have to level up quite a bit before you can find and then upgrade this thing to have that. Then we have the options for a standard targeting array, an improved targeting array, and an enhanced targeting array. The improved target array is going to have decreased action point costs, and the enhanced is going to have an increased VATS hit chance, and it is going to change the sights to be a nice red glow sight, so that's an option as well, but you can of course have the standard one if that's what you prefer. Up to you completely, of course. That's what's the fun with all of this customization stuff, is you get to choose exactly how you want to use this weapon. So yeah, that is the burst pistol, as well as the Auto 9 featured in one nice mod. A wonderful collaborative effort from Alexerator, Pig, and myself. A really, really cool weapon that I think you guys are going to enjoy quite a bit. And stay tuned, because there's always more stuff coming as well. If you want to try out this mod for yourself, it will be linked down in the description below. Additionally, while you're down there, consider dropping the video a like if you enjoyed it. It really helps with the channel. Lets me know what kind of videos you guys would like to see. Videos are going to be changing a little bit soon. We're going to be doing some different formatting, but hopefully you guys enjoy the changes. I think that it's going to be better for the channel overall and better for your viewing enjoyment. One more thing before we go, if you enjoy the videos I make here on YouTube or the mods that I am making over on the Nexus, consider checking me out on Patreon. It is the best way to support me directly, but of course, it is completely optional. Not something you should feel like you need to do, just there for those of you who would like to. With that, I hope you guys enjoy once again, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!